A hush fell over the bridge, as everyone who was still conscious came to the understanding that we were not going to die. The flow of time seemed to change for me, switching from a direct drive forward to a weird staccato as reality stopped and started. The captain was by my side, patting me on the back with her good arm. Urch was now on his feet, looking absolutely terrible with a crushed nose and a gash across his face and apparently a head wound. His thick locks were dripping with blood, but he was alive. He took one of his huge hands and wiped it down his face, and then shook off the excess blood. "You blew the excrement out of that ship," he told me. I nodded. I wasn't quite ready for speech yet. How many beings had I just killed? This wasn't a video game. This wasn't pretend. Were dozens dead? Hundreds? They were all gone because of what I had done. They had been trying to kill us, and that counted for something. It counted for a lot, but it was still unbelievable. 30 seconds to tunnel aperture, Yistip called. "Enter the tunnel as soon as possible," the captain said, relief unmistakable in her voice. "Best speed to Confederation Central. I want to see damage reports and repair estimates as soon as they're available. Get health teams up here and deploy them to all decks. I want every being on board accounted for within 10 minutes. No one is dying in a dark corner of my ship. I want to see a prioritized repair schedule as soon as possible. And Mr. Reynolds, thank you for saving our lives, but it's time for civilians to clear the bridge." "Yes, ma'am," I said. It was just as well because I needed to go back to my bunk and seriously decompress. Several hours later, my data bracelet chirped, and I received a text message informing me that the captain had called a meeting and my attendance was required. My HUD projected a yellow translucent path that led me to a conference room whose main features were a massive banner with the Confederation gas giant symbol and an oval table around which already sat Captain Quassel, Dr. Roop, Mrs. Price, Urch, and the 3 other human applicants. Urch, I saw, was now fully healed, as was the captain. Dr. Roop had sent a message to our delegation informing us that no one among us had been seriously injured other than Mi-sun, who had broken her collarbone, but she showed no signs of having been hurt now. Clearly, the Confederation had some powerful medical mojo. I liked that no one had been permanently hurt, but I did not like that they had all arrived before me. It made me feel like I was either an afterthought or the subject of the meeting. I didn't know which would be worse. I took the only empty chair between Urch and Dr. Roop. "First of all," the captain began, "I want to apologize to our guests for the rough ride. Obviously, the enemy attack was unexpected, but failures of gravity and stabilizers, even in combat, are extraordinarily rare. Unfortunately, as you have experienced, they are not impossible. That said, we have the finest safety protocols known to exist, and despite the damage the ship took, we suffered no loss of life or critical injury." That was good news, and impressive. "I've exchanged several beacons with Confederation Command," the captain continued. "Hold on," I said. "How can you do that? It's going to take us hours to get to the station, so how are you trading beacons?" "Com beacons are constructed of photons, which travel much more rapidly than matter," the captain said, though her voice suggested she didn't think this was particularly a good time for a lesson. "They tunnel at about 30 times the speed that the ship can." I nodded. "Sorry." "Your interest is commendable, and it will serve you well," she said. "But I'm afraid we have more pressing concerns right now. There is a great deal of unhappiness about what happened on the bridge during our encounter with the phatic ship. Several governmental councils are displeased with a member of the application species participated in the conflict, and they are troubled by how the battle resolved." "How it resolved?" I repeated. "Do you mean that I destroyed the ship?" "Yes," she said, her voice flat. "Given the alternative," Urch volunteered, "I'm not sure I share that opinion." "I agree, Mr. Urch," the captain said. "Mr. Reynolds performed to the best of his ability, and he likely saved the Dependable and the lives of all on board. That the phatic ship had hostile intentions is beyond doubt. We witnessed the destruction of our shuttle and the murder of the Gunari delegation. Nevertheless, there are concerns." What exactly are these concerns? I asked, though I had a pretty good idea. You deployed 10 dark matter missiles, launched consecutively against the phatic ship. Commander thinks that was excessive. I looked around the table, trying to get a sense of just how serious this was. Is it a matter of expense? I asked. Not as such, the captain said. Military supplies should never be squandered, but it is more a concern about your aggression. Dr. Roop cleared his considerable throat. Zeke, did you seek to destroy the phatic ship, or were you merely trying to disable it? I had that queasy feeling I get when I've messed up and been caught, but I still wasn't sure what I'd done wrong. We'd been in a battle fighting to survive, and I'd fought. Wasn't that what I was supposed to do? Well, I just didn't want us to get killed, I said. And I didn't want us to get killed because I wasn't able to do what I'd been asked to do. The captain needed me to stop the ship, and I did what I thought would work best. I figured I had one chance to get it right, and I took it. The more I spoke, the more confident I felt. Of course I'd done the right thing. There'd been nothing else to do. Politicians like to get attention, I knew that. They could say what they liked, but the facts spoke for themselves. To demonstrate my confidence, I leaned back in my chair and steepled my fingers. As Captain Benjamin Sisko once said, fortune favors the bold. Nyana coughed politely. Actually, it was the Virgil. It's from the Aeneid. More quietly, Meson added, moron. I noticed Nyana was smiling at me. It wasn't the full-wadded supernova smile of a girl trying to get me to fetch her a sparkling water, but it was still pretty compelling. Maybe some girls like it when you keep them from dying in the cold vacuum of space. The captain was rolling her trunk in little circles, in a way I suspected meant she was mulling over my bit of Star Trek wisdom. Fortune certainly favored us today. Here is what the detractors will say, Urch told me. One missile might have stopped an attack but allowed some of the fads on the ship to reach a life pod. There could have been survivors, with whom we might have questioned. Life is not measured in military terms, the captain said. It has its own value. But yes, understanding why they chose to attack the Granari would have been some use to us. I didn't know any of that, though, I said, now becoming frustrated. The captain raised one of her heavy hands. I understand, Mr. Reynolds. Frankly, I think the committee does as well. I also think, if I may speak bluntly, that there are some of those committees who will choose to interpret things otherwise. I see, said Dr. Roop. It's like that then, is it? It is, she agreed. Mrs. Price dusted off one of the sleeves of her business suit. She adjusted the wayward strand that had been broken ranks from her military-grade bun. It's like what, precisely? It might be helpful to know something about how the Confederation operates, Dr. Roop said. In the same way that many of your nations have ruling bodies made up of individual beings, we have bodies made up of groups. There are trillions of sentients in the Confederation, so there are thousands of elected officials, and these are organized into governing committees, such each with its small area of oversight. Inevitably, there are those who seek more power, and they seek that power through calling into question the actions of another committee or governmental office. The questions of which species to initiate is often politically charged, and this time more than ever because of certain unfortunate circumstances. Usually the selection committee participates in the initiation of new species. The captain explained further. They would also decide what to do in an emergency, such as a delegation being murdered, or a member of the delegation violating our treaty with the Phatic Empire. Violating a treaty? I said, maybe louder than I should have. They attacked us. They killed the Granari, who were just like us, a bunch of kids who were ready to go on an adventure. And now they're dead. Their families are grieving because the kids were murdered in cold blood, and I don't see how there are any fine lines here. I agree with you, Zeke, the captain said, but there are politicians who have to deal with the fact that our treaty forbids the use of excessive force against a vessel without providing sufficient opportunity for civilians and non-essential personnel to evacuate. There are those who are already claiming you are guilty of war crimes. Maybe the best thing to do would be to send him back, Mrs. Price suggested, her voice suddenly a little jaunty. A new random should be easy to acquire on such short notice. As long as we stick to the original parameters and choose an American, then no one can have any objections. My government already has a short list of viable candidates. I have no objection to this proposal, Charles said. Thanks for the contribution, Chuck, I thought. Then I glowered at him, and at least he had the good grace to turn away. In an ideal situation, the selection committee would pick a new group from the Granari, Dr. Roop said, presuming they are still willing to participate. They may also review Zeke's status. The situation is not ideal, however. A ship conveying all 5 members of the committee went missing 6 standard months ago, the captain explained to the humans. The members are presumed dead, and there has not yet been an election to replace them. So we're stuck with him? Mi-san asked. I mean, look at him. He's a war criminal, and he's still level 1. I'd been so distracted that I hadn't checked my heads-up display since the attack. I looked at it now. It read 2,965,830 out of 1,000. I surreptitiously checked the chart on my data bracelet. I had almost 3 million experience points, and I could now level up to 11, more than double what Mi-san had. Her score about my level wasn't going to bother me. The business about me being a war criminal was another matter, though. Why weren't we told about the Fatic Empire? I asked. Dr. Roop told us that the Confederation was peaceful, but you never mentioned these guys in flying saucers that are kicking your butts all over the galaxy. Don't be disrespectful, Charles said. Bite me, Chuck, I said. You didn't get experience points for being a suck-up. I looked at Urch, and he shook his head and bared his teeth in approval. It would have been useful, I continued, to know that the Confederation is involved in a war with the guys who significantly outmatch you. It's not exactly a war, Dr. Roop said. It's more like an ideological disagreement, with weapons. The Confederation and the Fatic Empire have been clashing for centuries, the captain said. Usually the conflicts take place in peripheral locations, and things rarely escalate to violence. Let me guess, I said, my stomach twisting as I spoke. This conflict sounded suddenly familiar to me. I knew where I had heard it before. The Confederation and the Fads fight primarily over access to former artifacts? All the aliens were now staring at me. How did you know that? Urch asked. Because this whole thing is like Colony Alpha, that's how. Give the stupid TV show a rest, Mi-san said. I didn't respond in the way that she deserved. I didn't tell her that Colony Alpha wasn't stupid. Some of the elements were spot on. It was my father's show, even if he had stumbled upon these truths by blind luck. In that story, a lone human colony found itself in the middle of a war between a benevolent alien race who were currently losing and evil imperial aliens who were on the cusp of victory. In order to survive, the humans had to side with the bad guys, and the show asked a lot of tough moral questions. Or at least it was supposed to, before the rewrites. The Confederation and the Fatic Empire have learned to live with each other, Dr. Roop explained. Conflicts arise, but they are usually resolved quickly, and without much bloodshed. Unfortunately, the attack today is part of a recent pattern of Fatic escalations. And some are already afraid that Mr. Reynolds' destruction of the Fatic ship will only further antagonize them, the captain said. Next time, Urch said to me, you should show them that you're nice by letting them destroy you. We do have treaties dictating the rules of engagement, the captain said, raising her voice slightly. But in my view, as Mr. Reynolds was unaware of them, and because the world was not a signatory to them, he is not bound by them. The Fads will not see it that way, but the councils will have to. Mrs. Price sighed. Look, this may be uncomfortable, but I'm here to represent the best interests of my world. I'm not here to make friends. Snarky retort, restraint, check. She turned to me. Zeke, you're a nice guy. We all like you, and I suppose it's possible that we're alive because of you. but you've become a liability to the mission, to Earth's chances of joining the Confederation, and very possibly to the Confederation itself. I think it would have been in everyone's best interests if you were to resign from the delegation. I know that's not the way things are usually done, but I'm sure, under the circumstances, we can make an exception."
"Thank you for sharing your opinion, Mrs. Price," the captain said. "However, we have already made it clear that what you suggest is not an option. Dr. Roop tells me you made such inquiries before you left Earth."
"That was before this happened," Mrs. Price said.
"The situation remains the same. We cannot alter the delegation without the approval of the selection committee, and that august body currently does not exist. My orders are to tunnel to Confederation Central at our best speed. We are not returning Zeke to Earth. This meeting is not to determine the course of action. It is simply to inform you of the circumstances."
"I see," Mrs. Price said.
"And it relieves me to learn you are not trying to make friends," the captain said, locking her hammerhead eyes on Mrs. Price, "because nobody likes you."
Outside the conference room, Mrs. Price and the other humans hurried on. I guessed after having tried to throw me under the space bus, they didn't want to stick around for small talk. The captain gave me a sympathetic pat on the shoulder and then headed for the bridge. I stood there with Urch and Dr. Roop. "This situation stinks of vomit," Urch said.
"It does."
"Am I in trouble?" I asked. I didn't want to kill anybody on that ship.
"I understand," Dr. Roop said. "But unfortunately there are people who are going to use the incident to gain power. The captain will support you, and so will I, and I will speak to the members of your delegation. They need to support you as well, at least in public."
"Thanks," I said. He began to walk away, but then turned back.
"What are you now? Really? Level 9?
11, I said. His eyes grew wide.
"That's impressive," he said. "No one has ever reached level 11 before arriving at the station before. But maybe you should hold off on letting the others know how far you've advanced. You don't want to make yourself conspicuous."
Urch hissed his menacing laughter, and I understood the humor as well. It was a bit late for being inconspicuous.